please rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn. Now let us sing.
I almost forgot. Quick little announcement here. I have a quick little announcement here. The choir will be starting up again. September 2nd is our first rehearsal, and we will be singing on September 13th. And if you have ever thought, oh, I might like to carry a tune, I might sing a little bit. If you sing in the shower, if you have an interest in singing, you are invited. There's no audition. There's no high pressure. You don't have to read music. We do all kinds of stuff. We want every voice to be heard. So if you are interested in singing, just come on a Wednesday night or come talk to me after service. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome. I'm Reverend J. Wolin. I'm the settled minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota, and I want to extend a warm welcome to all people who are here, and especially our visitors, both on campus as well as those who may be online watching over YouTube. I also want to make sure and invite our visitors and everyone to participate in any of our events. Just because you're a visitor, you are still welcome to participate. And I want to know if you want to find out more about the congregation or Unitarian Universalism, you can register on our virtual guest book, which you can find via a link on our homepage at our website, uusrq.org. If you are in person, there's a sign-up sheet for visitors at the welcome table. And if you do, we will send you our weekly newsletter that tells all about the events going on at the congregation, as well as other interesting information, as well as you'll get Zoom links to our whatever online programs or meetings we may have. We also want to make sure you are invited to join us for coffee and conversation, which we have after every Sunday service, and we look forward to getting to know you. This week, I just invite you again, we have an insert in the order of service if you want to know what's coming up this week, as well as on our website under the Events tab. So we look forward to getting to know each other, and now it is my pleasure to invite up a returning musical guest, Paul Duffy.
Good morning, folks. How are you? Wonderful. You know, I can always tell, I've been doing this a long time, I can always tell if an audience is going to be good or bad. Goodbye. Every audience is good here. But before I do anything, I got to do a shout out to my good friend, Bill Delgarno. Bill and Wilda are down there. And Bill is 99 years old. Still looking fresh as a daisy, still sharp as a tack. I am 68 years old, folks, and still tarp as a shack. Going to do a little James Taylor for you here. And I want you to sing with me. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans we made, putting them to you. Walked out this morning, and I wrote down the song. Still can't remember who to send it to. Join with me, folks, come on. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Lovely. And sunny days that I thought would never end. Lonely times when I could not find a friend. It's beautiful. But I always thought that I'd see you again. So won't you look down upon me, Jesus? Gotta help me make a stand. You just gotta see me through another day. My body's aching and my time is at hand. So can't remember to send it to. All right, come on. I've seen fire and I've seen rain, and sunny days that I thought would never end. Lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you again. Well, I've been walking my mind through an easy time, my back turned toward the sun. Lord knows when the cold wind blows, it can turn your head around. Spending hours of time on the telephone line, talking about days to come, yeah. Sweet dreams and flying machines and pieces on the ground. Come on, folks. I've seen fire and I've seen rain, and sunny days that I thought would never end. Lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you again. I've seen fire and I've seen rain, and sunny days that I thought would never end. Lonely times when I could not find a friend, yeah. But I always thought that I'd see you again. Always thought that I'd see you again. Fire and rain, fire and rain. Thought I'd see you one more time again. Fire and rain. Do 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 do. Thought I'd see you one more time again. Fire and rain, fire and rain, fire and rain, fire and rain. Thank you.
Our opening reading is from Coach John Wooden from his book, A Lifetime of Observations and Reflections on and Off the Court. Wooden was the winningest coach of men's basketball, college basketball, and he is always quick to point out that Pat Summitt is the winningest coach in college basketball, women's college basketball, yeah. And he always gave her due. He wrote, Mr. Vince Lombardi is supposed to have said, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Well, if he said that, I disagree. I believe making the total effort is everything. And that's all I ever wanted and all I ever asked from myself or my players. It's all you should ever ask for or expect. Understand, you won't actually ever become the best of which you are capable. That is perfection. We can't obtain perfection as I understand it, but we can work and work hard toward obtaining it. And if you do that, you will never lose in sports or in life. My coach at Purdue, Piggy Lambert, where do they get names like Piggy? Constantly reminded us, and I quote, the team that makes the most mistakes will probably win. That may sound a bit odd, but there is a great deal of truth in it. The doer makes mistakes. Coach Lambert taught me that mistakes come from doing, but so does success. The individual who is mistake-free is also probably sitting around doing nothing, and that's a very big mistake. I had mistakes plenty, but I had no failures. We may not have won the championship every year. We may have lost games, but we had no failures. You never fail if you know in your heart you did the best to which you were capable. I did my best. That is all any one of us can do. So as we light our chalice now, please join me in affirming our value of justice, which is printed in the order of service and will be on the screen behind me. We work to be a diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our associations, and society at large.
Good morning. So nice to see you here on this rainy Sunday. Today's story is I Color Myself Different, written by Colin Kaepernick and illustrated by Eric Wilkerson. Hey, I'm Colin, and I read books, and I play sports and games, and I have a lot of fun with my friends. I don't know too many kids who look like me, which makes me super cool, because I'm different, you know? I have super cool skin, I have super cool hair, and a super cool family. And sometimes it's not easy, but being one of a kind sure is amazing. Somebody has to do it. And that somebody is me. But one day I had to learn that being different takes courage. It happened at school. Good morning, class. Today we're going to learn about families, Mrs. Musa said. Grab a sheet of paper and your art boxes. We'll start by drawing what our families look like. Oh, this is going to be easy, I thought to myself. I have the best family ever. I'm going to draw my mom, my sister, and my kitty cat, Mr. Noodles, said Sarah. Well, I have a huge family with my parents and grandparents and lots of cousins. I'm going to need 2 papers, joked Eric, my best friend. I didn't say anything because drawing is serious business. I had to choose just the right pencil and just the right paper and just the right colors. I had to focus. First I outlined and I scribbled and then I shaded and then I erased and I outlined some more. And then I laid out all the crayons so I could pick the perfect colors. Aha! I got it. Finished. So Mrs. Musa asked us to show our family portraits to the class one by one. I love seeing how families look different and beautiful in their own ways. I couldn't wait to share mine. This is my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, and my dog Kiwi. We'd like to go to the park, eat cookies, and before I could even finish, Becky blurted out, "Why are you the only brown one in your family?" And then I heard from the back, "Why did you color yourself different?" At first, I froze. I was surprised, shocked, stunned. I like being brown and different, but the questions made me feel bad. Then I remember when I'd asked my mom the exact same question. Mom, why am I the only brown one in our family? Why am I a different color? Honey, some children join families when they're born, and others join families after they're born. When you were a baby, we decided to adopt you, and you made our family whole, Mom answered. Adopted means different? Adopted means special, Mom smiled. Being adopted is an extra special way to join the family. Even though we don't share the same skin color, we share the same love. And that's what matters most. And ever since Mom wrapped me in a warm hug, I knew having brown skin and being adopted made me special. I have brown eyes, a brown nose, and brown hands, just like the people who inspire, create, lead, and change the world. That made it easy for me to unfreeze quickly. I stood tall and I opened my eyes and I said, I'm brown. I color myself different. I'm me and I'm magnificent. And I said it a little louder so those in the back could hear me. I'm brown and I color myself different. I'm me and I'm magnificent. You are magnificent, magnificently brown and magnificently different, affirmed Mrs. Musa. Brown is beautiful, added a classmate. Brown is the color of my favorite superhero. And the color of my doctor, chimed in another. And the color of my best friend, added Eric. So Mrs. Musa smiled and clapped her hands. Wonderful, my magnificent students. Then she talked about the ways people and families can be different, but still so full of love. So I love my brown skin, and I love my family, and I love being different. And as we talked, I snuck a few seconds to add something very special to my family portrait before hanging it up on the wall. That day, I was proud. I was proud of my brown skin, and I was proud to be me. It was the day that I colored myself different for all the world to see. So Colin's experience as a child, being different, but surrounded by and supported by his family and his teachers and his classmates, gave him the courage to stand up for himself. And seeing other African Americans standing up in the face of backlash also influenced his own activism. We should all be supportive of our young people and give them examples of activism, whether big or small, so that they too will have the courage to bend the arc of justice. I now invite any children and youth to join me and Ms. Kristen in the West Wing as we build community together by sharing. Thank you.
All right, folks, before I do anything else, I'd like to thank Reverend Jay and Don for inviting me to play for you here. Just realized that I've been involved in the UU Church for more than 20 years. 21 years, I think. 05 was the first. Don DeMaio booked us for it's like a Paddy's Day type thing. But this next thing I'm going to do for you is by U2, folks. And I think most people out there know that I'm Irish. You know, I talk a little funny, so, you know, that's no big secret. But I grew up in Dublin, and U2 and I started in the business the same year, 1977. But obviously, I chose a different path. Now U2 go out on tour, they make $300 million, and I'm here with you at the UU Church in Sarasota. But I'm happy. I'm happy. I don't know if they are or not. I haven't seen them in a long time. But also, everybody knows, folks, that Bono from U2, he's exactly a year younger than me. He's been a great philanthropist over the years. He's done great work for charities and for the Brazilian rainforest and all that. But also, people know that he has an ego the size of Cleveland, you know. And in Ireland, and especially in Dublin, you don't get away with that. You know, if you get too big for your britches, they'll find a way to bring you down. And the saying that went around the streets of Dublin in the late 80s was, what's the difference between Bono from U2 and God? And the difference was God didn't walk around the streets of Dublin thinking he was Bono. But having said that, I'm very proud of those 4 guys. They have conquered the rock and roll world, and they're such longevity. You know, next year it'll be 50 years. I mean, that's incredible. They're rivals for the Rolling Stones now, as far as longevity is concerned. But this is a great song by them called I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, and another one you can join with me. I have climbed highest mountain, I have run through the fields only to be with you, only to be with you. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls, only to be with you. All right, are you ready? But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. That's lovely. No, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I have kissed honey lips, felt the healing fingertips. It burns like fire, this burning desire. I have spoke to tunnel angels, felt the healing hand of the devil. It was warm in the night, I was cold as the snow. All right, come on. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Sing it a little bit louder. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Lovely. I believe in kingdom come. All these colors lead it to one. They lead it to one. Yes, I'm still running. You brought the bond out, the loose the chains, carry the cross of my shame, of my shame. You know I believe it. All right, come on, folks. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. No, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Let's do it again. No, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. One more time. No, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Thank you. Good job.
Our centering in words today, something I wrote for you. I invite you to settle in. If you're comfortable, take a breath. Let your shoulders loosen. Let us speak and act based on what we hear. So I was recently listening to a podcast by Brene Brown and author John Green, who, describing his love for the World Cup and soccer in general, describes sports as a way for people to orient their love in the same direction as other people, indicating, which I find to be true, that sports does cross almost all social divisions. There was a discussion about how this could be true of any shared creative effort, but Green goes on to say one thing that is unique about sports is that you don't have to like collaborating with the other person to treat it as a shared project, end quote. And it's true, people do treat sports very religiously. It's true. Every Sunday growing up, we would get together with family. We were Jewish, so we went to temple Friday night. Every Sunday morning, we would pray at the Church of the New York Jets, Shea Stadium in Queens. Now, for some, it may be escapism. For others, it may be the appreciation of athletic ability, similar to watching the ballet. I've often called basketball sort of like an improvised ballet, actually. But one of the reasons that sports has always been important to me is because it was a large part of my upbringing. It is nostalgic in that it does bring up those fond memories of my family gathering together, either going to or watching sporting events and eating big meals together afterwards. Very specific, ritualized foods that you would eat only during the football game. Very interesting when you think about it that way. But sports playing sports taught me that practicing something helps me improve. It taught me teamwork, patience, and persistence, as well as both the limitations of my ability and my ability occasionally to exceed my limitations. I also learned how to endure the agony of defeat and how to get up and try again, and sometimes know when it is time to try something different. At some point after getting hit enough playing football, it was like, they keep growing and I don't. Maybe I should try something different. So throughout my life, sports also tested my mind-body connection, particularly when I played golf, where I realized I can never get my body to do what my mind tells me it should do to hit a good shot. And so over the years, this has helped me learn to trust my inner instinct to do what it knows it needs to do. There's an old saying in golf that golf doesn't build character, it exposes it. So sports are a way to learn about ourselves. All these lessons I still use to this day. Sports are also a metaphor for life. It has a beginning and it has an end. But it is not really the final score that counts. It is what happens during the game that counts. Do we practice and train for what life brings us? Do we work hard to reach our goals? Do we give life all that we have in whatever we are doing? When the going gets tough in life, do we quit or do we persevere? If the outcome seems uncertain, do we quit and stop playing hard at life, knowing there's no shame in losing if we have done our best, if we maintain our integrity and continue to give 100%? And being short and from the Bronx, I sort of always envisioned myself as an underdog. Whether that was true or not, that is how I viewed myself. And perhaps that was just one reason why, despite living in the Bronx, where the Yankees actually played, I rooted for the New York Mets growing up. That was very tough in the schoolyard, I just have to say. It's true underdogs don't win as often, but rooting for underdogs gives me hope that victory is possible for myself and for a world in need of hope. Occasionally, as the dog days of summer ended, my faith rewarded me and the Mets going to the World Series. You will notice I am wearing my Met colors, orange shirt and blue. In 1973, in mid-July, the Mets were in last place even as far as into the end of August. And their relief pitcher, Tug McGraw, rallied the team after every big play, banging his glove and yelling enthusiastically, "You gotta believe!" The saying became contagious, and the team rallied and won the National League pennant that year after being in last place. I sometimes think of Unitarian Universalists as underdogs. In the scheme of the United States religious organizations, we are a relatively small denomination. Still, we work hard, we speak our truth, we act with our values, and we have impacted our society, the larger society, for the better. And now we believe and we work to build a multicultural, multi-generational community. You gotta believe. You gotta believe that it can be true. Let me hear you say it. You gotta believe. You gotta believe. One more time. You gotta believe. Okay, a little more verse. Come on. I want to hear the energy behind it. Let me hear it. You gotta believe. Thank you. Just saying it will help it become maybe a self-fulfilling prophecy. But one other thing I believe is in the generosity of our congregants as we are ready to take our weekly offering to support the larger community, as this Sunday is Share the Plate. 100% of today's collection will go to the organization Elevated Access. I invite up Brenda Doucette to share a little bit about the organization we will be collecting our offering for.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Dr. Brenda Doucette. As a researcher and an educational leader here in Southwest Florida, my life's work has been rooted in building systems that expand opportunity and empower individuals to thrive. Unitarian Universalism calls us to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person, to advocate for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and to respect the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. But when state and federal systems restrict health care, that inherent worth and bodily autonomy are directly threatened. Today, 41 states prohibit abortion after specific gestational points, including 13 total bans. At the same time, 27 states limit access to gender-affirming care for youth, impacting half of all transgender teenagers in America and leading to a higher risk of anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. For thousands of people, receiving necessary medical care now means navigating daunting financial investments, losing critical wages, leaving children behind, and traveling hundreds of miles. We understand that access to health care saves lives. This is where my work as a volunteer with Elevated Access comes in. Elevated Access is a nonprofit organization that provides fast, free, and compassionate private and commercial air transportation for individuals seeking reproductive and gender-affirming health care. While the aviation community has flown angel flights for disaster relief and specialized medical care for decades, Elevated Access addresses a modern crisis. Most Americans live within 30 miles of an airfield. By leveraging this network of small runways and private aviation, we bridge the gap between people and the care they need. We operate through the lens of reproductive justice, a framework defined by Sister Song as the fundamental human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, to have children, not to have children, and to parent the children we have in safe and sustainable communities. It demands that everyone, regardless of gender identity or socioeconomic status, possesses the power to make decisions about their own bodies and lives. Since launching in 2022, Elevated Access and our partner organizations have completed over 3,000 flights, flown more than 2 million miles, and served over 3,600 passengers. Backed by 500 active volunteer pilots and 100 partner organizations, we ensure that state borders do not dictate human rights. When healthcare systems fail us, community and collective action step in, and I am honored to be part of the work that saves lives. Thank you for standing with organizations that uphold bodily autonomy, build practical bridges to care, and ensure that dignity remains accessible to all. Thank you.
Please be as generous as you can. For those online, there's a link to donate in the description of the YouTube video. If you're here on your cell phone, there's a QR code in the order of service and on the screen. Let this sacred time begin. Our next reading is from Megan Rapinoe from the World Cup Parade Speech 2019. This is my charge to everyone. We have to be better. We have to love more, hate less. We've got to listen more, talk less. We've got to know this is everybody's responsibility, every single person here. It is our responsibility to make this world a better place. Yes, we play sports, but we're so much more than that. Yes, you're so much more than that. You're more than a fan. You're more than someone who just supports sports. You're someone who walks these streets every single day. How do you make your community better? How do you make the people around you better? It's every single person's responsibility. And now it is Paul Duffy's responsibility to share with us his beautiful music once again.
Thank you. All right, before I do this, please put your hands together for Dorian, who does the sound here. He's done a great job. And I'm going to do a song for you by Simon and Garfunkel. And this song is called The Boxer. It's been around forever. Everybody knows this song. But if you get the urge to sing along, please don't bother. Because I do it better by myself. I'm joking. Of course I'm joking. Love to hear you sing. And I always like to incorporate a little Celtic into a little Irish into whatever I do here at the UU. I'm going to play a little solo on this instrument, which is called a tin whistle. I guess in America, you guys call it a penny whistle. It must have been named a long time ago because it costs $20 now. Anyway, here we go with the Boxer. I am just a poor boy, though my story's seldom told. I have squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles they call promises. All lies and jest, still man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. La 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 la. La 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 la. When I left my home and family, I was no more than a boy in the company of strangers, in the quiet of the railway station, running scared. Laying low, seeking out poor quarters where the ragged people go, looking for the places only they will know. All right, here we go. La la la. La 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 la. Oh, you know this one, all right? I can tell. Seeking only workmen's wages, I came looking for a job, but I get no offers. Just a come on from the whores and 7th Avenue. I do declare there were times when I was so lonesome, I took some comfort there. La 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 la. La 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 la. Go again. La la la. Lovely. Well, I'm hanging up my winter clothes, wishing I was gone, going home. Where the New York City winters, they are leading me. Leading me, oh, back down to Sarasota. In the clearing stands a boxer, a fighter by his trade, and he carries a reminder of every glove that knocked him down and cut him till he cried out in his anger and his shame, I am leaving. But the fighter still remains. La 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 la. La 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 la. All right, for the last time. La la la. La 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 la. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Paul. Always a pleasure having you here. So I said in my first reflection that golf doesn't build character, it exposes it. And I think the same is true of a country. Sports as well can be a mirror to America and can be a catalyst that can lead to change and justice. Sports personalities have been at the forefront of social change in our countries. A couple of years ago, I did a service on Jackie Robinson, 42. You can go back and watch that one. No, I don't have time to do that again. But when I was young, I remember Muhammad Ali, considered by most, and certainly by himself, the greatest boxer of all time. And in his later life, he was beloved by many. But that was not always the case. In the 1960s, to be inducted into the Vietnam War due to his Muslims, he refused to be inducted into the Vietnam War due to his Muslim beliefs about not killing people. His words were a mirror upon our country. He was outspoken about not wanting to fight the Vietnamese. In response to complaints by white students, he said, and I quote, You are my opposer when I want freedom. You are my opposer when I want justice. You are my opposer when I want equality. You won't stand up for me in America, for my religious beliefs and my rights, but you want me to go and fight somewhere across the world when you will not even fight for me. Remembering this is in the mid to late 60s here. And there was also a darker side to this backlash by the government. The day Ali announced that he had joined the Nation of Islam, J. Edgar Hoover assigned an agent to look into his draft status. And then when he refused to go, they stripped him of his boxing title, made it difficult for him to fight and earn money. He knew he was going to have to sacrifice his career if he took this path. He could have negotiated a deal to do a few exhibition matches or non-combat duty as part of being in the armed services, but he stood up for his principles and accepted the consequences. This was a time of great upheaval in our country. In 1968 Olympics, the gold and bronze medalists Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their hands in a Black Power salute, you can see behind me, to show solidarity for Black Power movements. They stood barefoot to bring awareness to Black poverty, and Carlos wore beads around his neck to symbolize lynchings of Black people. What is often also not talked about is the silver medalist, Peter Norman, from Australia. He asked Smith and Carlos how he could support them, and they suggested he wear a badge from the Olympic Project for Human Rights, which was a sign of solidarity with the fight against racial injustice. Well, Smith and Carlos, they were expelled from the Olympic Village, sent home, received death threats, and struggled for years. Recognition came, but it took many, many years. Norman, on the other hand, despite being qualified for future Olympics, never returned to international competition. One year, Australia refused to send any sprinters to the Olympics as a way just to snub him. The Australian Parliament formally apologized to him in 2012, 6 years after he died. When Norman died in 2006, Smith and Carlos, who had remained friends, were pallbearers at his funeral. Even being an ally has consequences. I also want to raise the name of Curt Flood for many reasons. One, because I got to meet him as a little child. And my uncle had some business with Shea Stadium, and he got me into the locker room before the game. And Curt Flood was super friendly to me. That's all I remember. I just remember he was a really tall guy compared to me as like a 5-year-old. And but I think it's important to remember, right, the impact we have on children. Because of that, I followed him throughout his career. And he is one who challenged the Major League Baseball reserve clause that did not allow players to change teams. Once you were on a team, you were considered property. of that team. Flood considered that a form of slavery and sued all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, he lost that suit, but that suit changed public opinion and led a few years later to an arbitration case eliminating the reserve clause. Sadly, Flood was essentially kept out of baseball thereafter by the owners. His sacrifice, his raising the issue, his shining the mirror on America led to change. As we heard the story of Colin Kaepernick in the Time for All Ages, it showed the foundation of how he became who he was. Well, he was first a very successful NFL quarterback, bringing his team to the Super Bowl. And he protested during the one national anthem, started I believe it was 2016, to raise awareness specifically against police brutality against African Americans and racial oppression in general. And reading about Kaepernick, as I studied up, one really interesting thing I learned was that originally his protest started with him just sitting on the bench. And upon watching this, Nate Boyer, a former Green Beret, had played 1 year in the NFL. He had served 6 years in the armed services, wrote Kaepernick a very respectful letter sharing his discomfort with his sitting. And so Kaepernick asked to meet with Boyer. He didn't mind somebody criticizing him or challenging him. He wanted to share and he wanted to listen. And so, and when they met, Kaepernick expressed that he was committed to doing this until he started seeing some changes. It was Boyer, the Green Beret, who convinced Kaepernick to kneel. Boyer said, and I quote, "In my opinion and my experience, kneeling's never been in our history really seen as a disrespectful act. I mean, people kneel when they get knighted, you kneel to propose to your spouse, and you take a knee to pray. Some religions. And soldiers often take a knee in front of a fallen brother's grave to pay respects," end quote. And so despite having had success as a professional quarterback, Kaepernick has not been signed by a team since 2016 when he started kneeling. All I can say is, God knows the New York Jets could have used a quarterback during those 10 years. Well, he filed a collusion grievance and settled with the league in 2019, and Nike signed him to a new endorsement deal after he was let go. And Kaepernick continues his social justice work to this day. One of the many things that he has done is found and funded the Autopsy Initiative, offering free second autopsies to families affected by police or detention-related deaths. We heard Megan Rapinoe charge each of us before to use whatever platform we have to make our communities better. And a month after Kaepernick began his protest, Rapinoe also knelt during the anthem. And she explained, as a gay American, she knew what it meant to look at the flag and to not feel fully protected by it. And that white people should support people of color without claiming a leading voice. And she as well was part of a lawsuit that led to U.S. women's national team to fight for equal pay and more investment in women's soccer. Whose talent do we invest in and whose do we overlook, she asked. Once again, sports held up a mirror to America. Now, one last one I want to point out is another recent one. I was living in Iowa when Caitlin Clark started playing for the University of Iowa. It was hard not to hear about her. She is a great player, although she may not even be the best player on her current team, Kelsey Mitchell, in my opinion, but Clark is a great player. There is no doubt about it. She led Iowa to 2 national championship games, and when she came into the WNBA, her arrival brought millions of new viewers. which strengthened the league's economic future, led to a big TV package and more money for everybody. And sports again holds up a mirror. The WNBA was built largely by black women and has long been a place where open LGBTQ plus athletes who had actively advocated for racial justice were celebrated. Clark, in her interviews, has acknowledged her white privilege, honored the black women who built the league, and rejected the racist agendas advanced in her name. Still, some conservative commentators and politicians have used her popularity to turn her into a symbol in a culture war she did not create. The question is not why America finally showed up to watch women's basketball. The question is what took us so long, and what that answer says about who we are willing to pay attention to. Clark has almost always tries to keep the focus on basketball. Some commentators demand she comment on every controversy that arises. I remember when a conservative commentator told LeBron James to shut up and dribble when he spoke up about police brutality. For a country that values the First Amendment, some people in power really do struggle when they are criticized. There was an attempt at silencing, an attempt to demean a person just because they play a sport and dare to speak their truth. They want it both ways. Talk if you support me, but be silent if you don't support me. Well, that is not how free speech works. As we have seen from many examples, there are consequences to speaking up. Some people have the courage and are comfortable with that and willing to accept the risk, and others are not. Some may honestly not feel informed about issues and therefore should not be forced to speak up. Others are speaking from their own personal experiences. If someone chooses to speak up, and they have every right to do so, what we can do is listen and be good allies to anyone suffering who shares their truth. And I believe we can become a place where people share their truths. I believe through real dialogue and exploration, we can transform ourselves, the congregation, and the world at large into a beloved community that lives out our Unitarian Universalist values. I have and I will continue to sacrifice and be committed to help work towards that belief. Many of the examples I shared with you today showed individuals who risked everything they worked their whole lives towards for what they believed, risked everything for a cause higher, more important than themselves, risked everything with no knowledge of the outcome. Let us do likewise as we move forward with faith, that our actions taken with integrity, fueled by our values, will lead to us to fulfill our mission and our vision. I believe. You gotta believe. May it be so. Please rise and by the Andor Spirit for our closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment. please join me in extinguishing our chalice. The words will be up on the screen. There we go. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, of the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for your presence here today as you go forth. Go forth with love and a heart full of commitment. Thank you.